I want to go to Scott Bolden right now, the former D.C. Democratic Party chairman, kind enough to join us. You know, Scott, we have been exploring the politics of this, and even on a financial show, it bears mentioning because a lot of money and bets are placed by donors and others who seem to think that this will ultimately move the race. Right now, a lot of money coming Donald Trump's way, better than $5 million, as you probably heard, as he garners a lot of rally around the old boss type of a support system here. Yeah. Do you think those in your party, Scott, might rue the day this indictment started coming together, that it might be perfectly valid, regardless of, you know, those in other positions who didn't pursue this particular case, but it might not have the effect Democrats hoped? What do you think?
Well, I know the Democrats were savoring Trump running against Joe Biden. As you know, I'm a former prosecutor from the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. I've been doing white-collar criminal defense work for over 32 years. And as a former prosecutor, the political discussion about Donald Trump and the DA's office, I think, misses the mark. This is very serious. For the first time in his career, in his life, his liberty is at stake. And that psychologically will have an impact on him, regardless of the blustery, regardless of what his press conference is later in the day or tomorrow, if you will. Money dries up, if you will, because politically, Democrats or Republicans, it doesn't really matter. In the end, they want to back a winner because it's the biggest prize in American politics, the White House. I don't think the Democrats will rue the day that Alvin Bragg brought this indictment, because politics really don't get into play here. They really don't. Perception-wise, maybe. But remember, if Atlanta brings a second indictment, I think New York indictment allows Atlanta to bring an indictment on an easier political landing. And then if the feds bring the indictment in regard to the secretive documents, he's got a real problem. He can't stay in this race. I'm not prognosticating, but what I'm saying is when your liberty's at stake, when you're charged criminally, not only psychologically, but practically, you've got to stay out of jail. You've got to preserve your liberty, and you've got to beat these criminal charges and put the government to the test. And that's really what he's facing, separate and apart from the politics that we've been talking about.
Yeah, you might be right on that, but, you know, obviously a number of others have passed on pursuing this particular case. Now, there are things in there, Scott, maybe to your point, that we don't know, and maybe some surprises in that, you know, 30-plus count indictment that we don't appreciate, that will come to light tomorrow. Yeah. But the consensus is that there was a Democratic push here to help rally the Republican base around Donald Trump, get him nominated, because the view was he's the one Joe Biden could beat, that it might be more problematic, you know, taking on a Ron DeSantis, let's say, or others. I don't know if that's the case. And I know, as you and I have talked, polls are fleeting and change as quickly as they come out. Having said that, could this boomerang on them if this is the whole enchilada, this particular case, weak as it seems to stand to a number of lawyers, not these other cases? They don't come to fruition before the election. Right. What do you think?
Yeah, but you wouldn't, with Alvin Bragg, I know Alvin Bragg. I've been in that office years ago. Let me just say this. It may have worked out for the Democrats vis-a-vis the boomerang effect, but Alvin Bragg brought this case. Remember, the Trump company and the CFO have been indicted and convicted, right? That changes the narrative. If there are 30 or 40 counts in this indictment, which is what's been publicly reported, then you've got more than Stormy Daniels. And maybe that scenario with Alvin Bragg bringing the indictment helps the Democrats. But politics, I just don't believe politics.
But didn't Cyrus Vance Jr. have the same? Didn't Cyrus Vance Jr. have the same case, and others have the same case? Democrats all, and they didn't pursue it.
Well, at the time Cyrus Vance was bringing the case, they certainly did not. But this case is evolving. There's always, this investigation has been going on. And Alvin Bragg had a lot more information, having indicted the CFO and indicted and convicted the CFO and the Trump company. That's where the business fraud and financial fraud will emanate from. Watch and see when this indictment is unsealed tomorrow what's there. Stormy Daniels may not even be there. If it is there, it'll be a small part of this indictment indictment if we believe that there are 20 or 30 or more counts there. It'll be the business fraud piece. And I'm going to tell you, it is going to be a dark cloud over the Republicans and Donald Trump, because this indictment is going to lay out a criminal enterprise. And if he does that, there's a lot that could change politically. We won't be talking about the impact of the race. We'll be talking about whether Donald Trump can beat this case or not. We just haven't seen the indictment.
You know, he's overcome a lot, right? I mean, he survived two impeachment votes, right?
But never criminally.
He survived multiple investigations.
Never criminally.
You're quite right. This is first. You're absolutely right.
It's a different ball game,
there are a number
man.
of cases pending, and there is a couple of civil cases pending.
Yeah.
So you're quite right. But he always seems to be like the guy who gets through it all, the Teflon candidate. Are you saying that this is the Velcro? This is the one that's going to stick to him?
The criminal cases always stick if they're brought the right way and there's enough evidence. And given the scrutiny, I would have a hard time believing the Manhattan District Attorney's Office would bring a case whereby they wouldn't be able to stand on the strength of the case. If there's more than Stormy Daniels in that indictment, they've got a paper trail that will support business fraud. That fraud section of that office right there is second to none, whether you're talking about the federal prosecutors or state prosecutors. Here it'd be the state. And I just think it's going to take a lot of time, money, and energy, not just with their lawyers, but Donald Trump, to beat this back. This is very serious. And I know we usually talk politics, but as you know, as a white-collar criminal defense lawyer, I've represented elected officials before, including those who were running for office when they were under indictment. And it is a very difficult process. You have a PR strategy, a political strategy, and a litigation strategy, and all three of those strategies are not consistent or applicable to one another, and it gets tough. But in the end, if your liberty's at stake, the legal strategy has got to dominate, and it may impact negatively the political and PR strategy. Donald Trump needs to stop talking. He won't, but I got to tell you, his words will be used against him in court.
Should Democrats stop talking? Even, Jen Psaki was kind of warning
both sides
on MSNBC.
are raising money.
Just that's exactly right, right? So you gotta be cautious,
they are.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
But only Donald Trump's liberty is at stake.
Go ahead, finish that thought.
Only Donald Trump's liberty is at stake. The Republicans and the Democrats can talk all they want and raise all the money they want. We'll have to just keep watching it and see.